My mother brought me into the psych ER. I had gone off all my medication and was very manic and delusional and paranoid. It was terrible.
No one was really explaining to me what was going to happen, so I felt extremely isolated and alone, and I didn't know what was going to happen to me. My name is Kate Della Stover, and I am a poet, as well as a vocational coordinator for a mental health agency. For years, for a good part of my teens and 20s, I was hearing things, seeing things, just terrified. And then I ended up in the emergency room with none of my family or friends around, and it was terrifying.
Psychiatric emergencies involve a loss of one's own sense of self-respect and of a worthlessness. And that the person in a crisis like that is desperately looking for some outside help to restore their sense of worth.
Very often there's a nurse and she needs some basic information from you, so she'll just start talking to you like you're at the corner market. And here you are, here I am, let's say, in a tremendous amount of emotional pain, and a woman is sitting in a chair opposite me asking me a series of questions that I'm only partly understanding, and I feel like my foot has been amputated, at the ankle, and I'm bleeding, and someone is saying, well, that looks painful. How many buckets of blood do you think you lost on the way to the emergency room?
I can't picture that anybody wouldn't like some comforting words, some feeling that, what you're going through is not a good thing, and that we care about how this turns out. I'm Dr. Richard Police. I'm trained as a clinical psychologist. Probably the middle of 1995, I realized that I was under a lot of stress, having trouble concentrating. One day, I basically said to my wife, I think it's time for us to visit a psychiatrist. We walked over to the then public psychiatric emergency room. The psychiatric emergency room itself is sort of unique. The nurses and the attendants acted like you were not there. No one really interacted with you, talked to you, acted like what you had to say had the slightest bit of importance. With a PhD, I had to convince people I had enough intelligence to talk about my treatment. There were two psychiatrists doing the initial interview. They were conversing between themselves, ignoring the fact that I was in the room. It was sort of like two parents discussing how a child had misbehaved, and therefore the two parents needed to do something about it, but they weren't going to tell you what it was. You would be told later what was going to happen to you.
These concerns are an essential part of medical care. In psychiatry, we've known for a long time that the therapeutic alliance accounts for a large part of why people get better with psychiatric care, in addition to the specifics of that care, the type of medication, the type of specific psychotherapy. If you don't have the therapeutic alliance, those specific treatments don't have much of an effect. And what is the therapeutic alliance? The therapeutic alliance is creating a set of circumstances so that a person feels that they're understood, that they're cared about, and that what you're going to do to help them will really help them.
I can remember one aide in my first admission. It was within the first couple hours after my admission from the psychiatric emergency room, who came in and just sat down next to me and talked to me for a couple of minutes. Those 2 or 3 minutes were more kindness than I had gotten beyond from anybody else.
There was a tech, and she was very honest. She told me she believed some of the things I said. She validated my feelings. She gave me hope. Even though it was just a little glimmer, there was still hope there.
No one ever said to me, Rich, this experience you're going through right now is temporary. and that we have a way of helping you.
They were asking that from the very start of care, we restore a sense of hope that life can get better.
Doesn't matter how bad you might be in any situation, there's always hope, no matter what. And if your doctor can't tell you that, how are you going to believe it?
This is a wonderful opportunity to say, hey, you know, I'm a human being. I'm going through a very difficult time. For long stretches of time, before you ever saw me in this emergency room, and after I leave whatever care you're going to give me here or on the psychiatric ward or at discharge or, you know, after discharge, whatever, I'm just a person who likes to walk in the woods and watch old movies and participate in life. I'm just a human being like anybody else.